Hey, what's going on? You are listening to Dharma Time. I am the Dharma Guy here with, I'm going to call you the co-host now.
No, call him producer. It's producer, man, because I'm never going to be on the face.
You're never going to be in the face?
No, I'm not. I'm not on camera ever.
Okay. Wow.
No.
Are you denying the people your pearly whites over there?
No, man, they can see me on the couch live.
Oh, all right. Speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and put this out there before we get started. For those of you who don't follow us on social media, we are both now on the Couch Live and Dharma Time on iTunes and Google Play, I believe, as well. Although if you have an Android, what's wrong with you? Get an iPhone. But yes, we are both on there, so please check us out, subscribe. You can listen to us on the go from now on. Anyways, a couple of things I want to go over really quickly before we get started. The draft. Come on, man. That was a great draft.
Yeah, I think you guys did really well.
I think we did great.
Yeah.
I like who we got. I think I can hopefully be a proud 49ers fan this year.
Maybe.
Maybe, hopefully. We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and get it out now because this is probably the best record we're ever going to have for the whole season.
Right.
We'll see. So we're 0-0 at the moment.
Well, you already matched your record from last season.
Ouch.
You already matched the wins.
No. Our last 6 games, Mr. Garoppolo was 6-0.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And you guys lost one of your big people there, so one of your receivers, I think it was, right?
Well, he kept on wanting to smoke pot.
Well, speaking of which,
no, it wasn't. I mean, he had an attitude they say he had an attitude on the field and with other players and stuff like that. They had issues with him. And look, Pittsburgh Steelers don't negotiate attitude, man.
No,
they don't negotiate money and attitude.
No, they
don't.
If
you play for Pittsburgh, you gotta be all about football, all about rings. If you're about yourself or you're about what you want to do instead of what the team, what's good for the team, you don't make it long in Pittsburgh.
I'll give them credit. Pittsburgh is one of those class. I want to hate them because you guys have more championships than we do, but I can't. It's just a good, solid, blue collar, defense first kind of a place, and they're always in contention. So
right.
I look at that, and Hunter agrees. He's a pro Steeler, so I'm a Niners. So I want to hate you, but I can't.
Right.
Anyways, all right. So today, man, today we're talking about in silence we suffer is what it was.
Right.
So first off, let me give some background as to why this topic came about. So over the weekend, I'm sure at this point anybody who follows any bit of news whatsoever heard the Michelle Wolf comedy routine.
Man, you remember her name. Pretty good.
Yeah, Michelle Wolf. So anyways, she did the comedy routine at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is a yearly dinner for White House correspondents, I guess. So she got up and she told her comedy routine, and then the backlash was quite amazing. The backlash on social media, on national news networks, everything. It was quite swift and quite potent, I guess.
Swift.
A lot of people really did not like her and what she had to say.
No.
And so what that got me to thinking, though, was I think comedy is one of the arts, and it got me to thinking about self-expression. And is self-expression important? So I do remember on the Couch Live, we had our last week's poll was probably the closest ever. I think it was about as close to 50-50 as we've ever been.
Right.
Well, true to form, my listeners are all on one side. So when I asked the question, is self-expression important, which, let's face it, that's a pretty easy softball question, I guess.
Right.
I did have a couple people say no, which I wish I could communicate with them because I like to hear their thoughts as to why it's not important. But I digress. Almost every single person answered my poll and said, yes, self-expression is important. So I want to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Because we need to discuss the importance of self-expression and the importance of finding yours, the importance of letting other people find theirs, and then, as we talked earlier, sharing it. I think you brought up to me over the weekend when we were talking about how all of our great spiritual leaders have kind of been at one point jailed for some of the stuff that they've said. And I think that's important because it seems like right now, more than ever, we're in a weird kind of time these days where I think a lot of people have to hold their tongues. A lot of people kind of have to be very, very careful what they say, what they do. More and more people seem to be kind of prosecuted for things. And I don't necessarily mean prosecuted legally, but in a state of public opinion, if you will, chastised over things. And I'm not sure if I like that. I understand some of it, but I also think some of it is what we like to call fake outrage, I guess. But I want to get your thoughts on some of this, man, because we had a pretty good talk over the weekend, and I like to keep that going for our listeners. I think they love to hear our little competitive banter at times.
So, is that what it is?
I think so. We fight like a married couple sometimes, I think. But anyways, so I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, man? Do you think we're at a point right now where it's worse or no? Or does it just feel worse because there's more coverage, like with social media and things of that nature? You know, because you're older than I am, so.
I think it was bad during the. I think look, politics have always guided humor, right? They've always so comedians have always expressed themselves from politics.
Right.
People have always expressed themselves based on what's happening in the world.
Okay.
Right. And there's been some tougher issues in our world. I mean, you got to admit, you know, the Vietnam era.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
It was huge.
There were some serious issues going on.
They were getting spit on.
So there was a lot of express. So when I think freedom of expression, I can't help but first think about the first Woodstock.
Okay.
I think of times like that where.
Were you alive for that?
No, no. I mean, I think I was just born.
Okay.
but no, that's not my generation. But
so you weren't there with your chest.
But it was impactful to me because that was our history growing up. Was Woodstock. Plus, it was the music that I loved. It resonated with me because my initial dealing with my own pains or feeling controlled. That music tend to speak to that. Speak to control and speak to freedom.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, that whole initial rock and roll, that initial rebellion of mine.
Shaking your hips and everything.
It spoke to it. I don't know about hips, but bobbing my head.
There you go.
Growing my hair out. But so when I think of freedom of expression, I think of that time period, and I think of they had something really to be frustrated and afraid about. They were afraid, really. You had a whole generation afraid and confused, watching their brothers graduate high school, go off to somewhere else, and come back and pine boxes. And I think that was a very scary time for them, knowing that, wow, when I graduate high school, instead of the way kids look at it now, like I'm going to graduate, do I go to this college, that college, do I get a job, what am I going to do? These kids, what they did is they were thinking, I'm going to graduate, and it's very likely that I'm going to go off to war and die.
Right.
And I really don't understand why we're going. And instead of being told and explained, we didn't have the same kind of media as we do now. And it was a very different time, the way parents spoke to kids. They would say, you're to be heard and not... you're seen and not heard.
Yes. I kind of miss those days as a parent, but I'm just saying.
We missed out completely, didn't we?
Right.
So when I think expression, that's what I'm thinking about.
Okay.
And so when I watch let's take the last political situation, when Obama was in office, there was a lot of freedom of expression as well. And I think what that did for us is allowed us to know, wow, anyone can do anything and can be anything. Right. And there was still some hateful things said around because of who he was and what he was. And so I didn't like that expression. I thought some of that expression was hateful. Right. I think it was hurtful. And I think that it was downright disrespectful to him and what he symbolized for us, right?
Right. Consequently,
I'm also equally as offended, and I find it disrespectful as some of the freedom of expression people have used towards this administration. So I think that if you're going to express yourself, there's somebody that commented on your thing, and what was her name?
I believe you're referring to Maggie.
Maggie, when she commented, what was that exact? Do you have that comment up or no?
I'm going to pull it up right now.
Yeah, because I think what she said right there was what she said was right. When she said that it really depends on whether you're using your freedom of expression to hurt others. If you're doing it to hurt...
I guess that's where the thing is. We have to define expression, right? Like, at what point does expression become bullying almost?
Correct.
I think, for me, I would say that self-expression is just that. Expressing something about yourself and how you feel, what you're going through, things of that nature. I think that when you start taking it out on other people, it's moved from expressing yourself to expressing your view on somebody else. And I think that's where the difference is, personally.
Yeah, venting and attacking is two different things.
So Maggie, what she wrote was...
It doesn't give you permission to be an asshole.
Correct. So what Maggie wrote, the one you're referring to, and once again, we had a poll. I put a poll on my social media and got some pretty good thought-out responses. But one of them was, I have found that it's not only important but essential in maintaining balance in one's overall well-being, especially for those who've experienced trauma on any level, addiction, loss, or who feel that they have never been heard or acknowledged. Self-expression does not equate to a bitch session. Self-expression does not involve the harm of others or self. Self-expression is about positive energy only. Anything else is not self-expression. There is a definitive line that separates it from anything else. And so my question was, is self-expression important? That was the question, by the way.
Okay, well, this time when you read it, I heard something different in there that I may not agree with. I don't think that it has to be positive energy only.
I don't agree with that either, but go ahead.
Okay, no, that was it.
Well, my thing, I don't like the definition of positive or negative, because what I call
Right.
positive, you could call negative. So nothing's inherently good or bad. It just is.
Yeah, that's very Zen. But yes, this is Dharma time.
It is.
So
Even
we
though
are a
I'm
little
not-
bit. You are going to speak more Zenish than most.
Yes. But I do believe self-expression is important, and I think Marissa even kind of hinted on it when she commented about how it's vital. We bottle things up.
Right.
I do believe what I find most astonishing to me, actually, in the different spiritual kind of counseling sessions and stuff, and as well as some of the groups in the addiction rooms and whatnot that I've kind of participated in, the thing that I kind of that strikes me is so many people I come across have some form of self-expression, whether it be music, painting, drawing, writing, some form that they get their stuff out, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason they stop, and that's when it seems like a lot of the problems start to come around. It's like, oh, I used to do all this and it gave me such relief or whatever, but then for whatever reason they find reasons to stop. And it's like, why would you stop something that helps you so much? And I think that's I do believe we don't put enough importance sometimes on self-expression.
Right.
I think we forget on why it's important.
I think we forget that it's very healing and it's necessary to not allow things to get bottled up and blow up. I mean, because it causes other issues. It causes other health issues, right? It causes you
of
to
course.
maybe, eat more than you would normally eat. It causes you maybe to be more lethargic and not be active.
Well, I mean, it causes your whole perspective changes. You're coming from a place of anger and frustration as opposed to what you would normally come under, right? And so I think first and foremost, I think it's important, obviously, to have a good spiritual base, so some of those feelings of anger and resentment and things of that nature don't arise in the first place.
Right.
But we're only human, so I don't care how spiritual you are, you're going to have those types of feelings, and that's why it's important to have that form of self-expression, right?
Right.
And so, like, for instance, for myself, I think that my form of expression is this, and flapping my gums, trying to tell people and run my mouth. But it's also the gym. One thing I'll notice is that I'm at my happiest when I'm going to the gym on a consistent basis. I noticed that in years previous, when I would miss like a couple days at the gym to kind of get that energy out of me, I wasn't that fun to be around at times. Like I had people who were really close to me could tell, like, you haven't been to the gym in a week, have you? Because I had this energy, I had this stuff inside of me, and I know that you're always saying that there's nothing built that has pressure that doesn't have a release valve on it.
Right.
And that's true, right? We as human beings, we have to express ourselves. But what I see happening a lot at the moment, and through social media, through politics, through media, what I see is people, it's being stifled almost. Like, I got to be honest, man, I have a lot of stuff that like memes and things of that nature that I think are kind of funny or humorous to pass the time by that I would never post on my social media.
Why wouldn't you post them?
Because of the backlash, the potential backlash. Because I think that if I were
you made a decision.
Absolutely.
Based on what?
Based on the profile that we have, and that I don't want people to get the wrong image of me who don't currently know me. So,
and do you think that's important?
Do I think what's important?
Do you think it's important to then hold back some of your expression for your greater good and maybe for the greater good of others that kind of look up to you, and then they may not look up to you if you post some of that stuff? Do you think that's important?
I think for the role that I'm trying to play in people's lives, yes. Okay. I think that if I wasn't trying to play the role that I'm currently playing, then no, I don't think it would be quite as important. But because I am trying to play a role of guidance for people, I think I need to speak in a way that doesn't turn those people off.
Do you still think you're being true to yourself, though?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
By censoring yourself?
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think that, but I don't like the idea, though, that we're in a climate right now.
Always.
Where
not right now.
Well, I can only speak for now because...
How can you, man? You've seen those old movies. If you spoke before in some other climates, you'd get your head cut off.
Yeah.
I mean, we were a worse society back in the day. Not a better. Don't believe that Andy Griffith bullshit.
Come on, man. Andy Griffith was great.
No, that never happened.
There's no Opie running around here?
No. Opie ran around, but the problem is there was someone like me or someone else that wasn't allowed to run around.
Yeah, right?
No, man, those were not good times, by the way.
I was beating Opie up.
Those were only good times if you were them.
Yeah, right?
You know what I mean? We didn't used to lock our doors. Well, because if I would break in, you'd chop my head off. You'd hang me from a tree.
But no, I think that... I just don't. I don't know. I don't like the climate we're in, and I can only say right now because that's what we're in right now.
Well, you can speak to the past because we have pretty good recollection of the past.
Sure. I just don't like the climate. I don't like the idea though that one comment can change somebody's entire perspective of who you are. I think that kind of
What else would you take though?
Their body of work, like
Well,
who
but
that person
is. But to somebody, that is that's the only body of work that you're able to get.
Maybe.
I mean, like those. Remember when we went down south to Elon Recovery?
Yeah.
And we saw the painters.
Yes.
I mean, that's all we know of them is their body of work that we saw. Now, that's not their whole life's work.
Correct.
But I mean, you and I both left there with a certain understanding of who they were based on the work we saw, right? And the interaction with them.
Well, and that's just it. And the interaction.
Right.
And then once we got home, we were friends on social media, and I have a lot more to choose from
now.
But that's what I mean, though, is if I could, I'm telling you right now, I could have. I've got a lengthy history of social media at the moment, right? As do you.
Right.
But then I could post one thing and instantly lose like a ton of people. They would completely forget the last several years of value that has been put out there.
I've had it done.
All based upon one
I've had individuals. I told you that.
And I think that's ridiculous.
But it's also their freedom to interpret things incorrectly.
Marissa just said the censoring on social media is terrible lately. I think the block button is enough to individually decide what people like and don't like. I think the alerts telling you it's harmful before clicking on are getting a bit ridiculous because half the time it's not sensitive content.
Correct.
So
I agree with that.
My point though is we got to be careful of blurring that line of not wanting to express ourselves. And there's multiple ways of expressing yourself. It doesn't have to be through social media. Matter of fact, I think social media is probably one of the worst ways these days.
Right.
I think that there's healthier, more constructive ways. Most notably, artistic people. There's drawing, there's painting, there's working out, of course. There's what we do. There's just offering up your opinions.
Well, this is considered art as well, right?
I believe so.
So we could bully anyone and call it art.
Yeah, well, I think Howard Stern did it for years, and he made quite a career doing it.
Right. And the people he bullied actually love him.
Which is weird.
Well, because he still did it out of love. He never. By the way, Howard Stern, just to qualify, he never did it hateful. He picked on things about you and laughed about it.
Yeah.
And admitted his own faults as well. So that makes it funny.
Yeah. No,
Don Rickles made it funny.
Don Rickles is one of the best.
He made fun of everybody and made it funny.
They don't make him like.
I think there's certain people right now that are comedians that are saying things that they're only playing to half the audience, and therefore it makes it less funny. Now, some people are always going to find it funny.
Sure.
But I think that it takes a hell of a lot more talent to make fun of someone and have that person you made fun of laugh than make fun of somebody and have that person cry. I think it's a lot harder to make your person laugh, and I think that's a true talent.
Right. Well, I mean, and that brings me to kind of my next point, actually, and the whole premise, I guess.
Yeah, because if not, we'll get off again.
We'll go. Just so y'all know, the last probably 40 minutes was us debating the whole.
A different show.
Yeah, basically.
Just a different show.
But anyways,
keep us on track, Trinity.
So what we put up here today was we silence and suffer,
right?
Or we suffer in silence,
right?
Or no, what was it? In silence, we suffer. There we go.
We suffer.
Gosh, dude, your memory is like fading off on mine now. That's not cool. I'm like the memory guy.
Yeah, I'm bleeding into you.
Right? What's up with that? Anyways, so
I'm very addicting.
The whole in silence we suffer.
I'm contagious.
It's important we put that up there though, because I think that kind of is indicative of what we were just saying. Was this getting out of touch with your self-expression does cause us to suffer, and that's what I mean. In silence, not getting that out, not expressing it. Yeah. Can cause you to suffer, can cause stress to come out, can cause, your irritability, things of that nature. It makes you respond to stuff that you normally wouldn't respond the same way to. And I think that's important. And I think that no matter what climate we're in, you got to find a way of getting that out of you in a way that doesn't, of course, make your life harder.
Yeah, I think of Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam,
I think random, but okay.
No, I mean, because when you said that,
I do this.
Have you listened to the song? I mean, you've listened to the songs,
not since like the early '90s.
I know, but those songs were there's a lot of pain in those songs, and I think that's why they resonate in so many people's minds for so many years. I mean, they're still on tour now.
Pearl Jam's on tour now.
They've never stopped touring.
They got to be like 50-something.
No, they've never really stopped touring.
Wow, okay.
And I think what makes Eddie Vedder, and what makes Pearl Jam, is that there was a lot of pain that individual took and suffered with, and expressed it really well.
Right.
And that's an example of In silence, he was probably suffering. But by speaking it and singing
Sure.
it and connecting with other people that had like-minded issues and
Right.
like-minded pains, it made him feel value and worthy. And so he kept doing it.
Sure.
And that's what we really encourage everyone else to do, right?
Yeah, is find your way of expressing yourself. I think the other half of that equation, and this is, I'm getting dangerously close to that line where we'll start talking about other stuff. But
Okay.
I think that, from my perspective, I think that the more spiritually sound you are, the better you allow others to express themselves.
Yeah.
Because I think that oftentimes the individuals that I've come across who have a very difficult time letting somebody else express themselves, let's say painting, right? Like, oh, that's a horrible paint job and you shouldn't do that, and they get very offended and they want to shut it down. My experience is those individuals who have those issues are morally corrupt inside, or not morally, spiritually corrupt. They haven't found their peace yet. And so things outside themselves can create that sense of unrest inside them.
Yeah.
And instead of looking inwards, they try to stifle somebody else's creativity. And so I think that individual needs to spend more time finding their peace, while at the same token figure out what their expression is, and you'll no longer be affected by somebody else's.
Yeah. Your vibration can't change my tune.
Yeah. I think that's kind of where we need to focus on, because if you think about it, like you brought up over the weekend when we were talking about it, is, there were so many, like Gandhi, right?
Right.
Gandhi wasn't a bad dude. I mean, he was just trying to be the change you want to be, and he was talking about peace and things of that nature.
He's probably the best example.
And he was jailed for it. And he was, and so what he was saying wasn't so bad. It's just he was attacking their sense of self, essentially.
An injustice.
Yeah. And because of their spiritual base was so fragile, instead of looking inwards and saying, man, maybe I should change that, or maybe I should look into that. No, he's the problem. Jail him. And so I think that's kind of, it feels very similar to that right now. It feels like it's got an aura of that, of if you're trying to express yourself and put it out there, if you go against the grain somehow, then you got to worry about all the backlash from everybody else. Like, you're the problem.
Right.
And he's like, how am I the problem? I just put something out there. I put words. I put thoughts. That's it.
You know what's interesting is that when you say someone like Gandhi, who to me, he's probably the biggest name I can think of, or the biggest mover of people and thought and opinion, and he lived it. I mean, this is a guy that had some money.
Yeah, he came from money, didn't he?
He came from money. Yeah. I mean, he was an attorney, and he gave it all up to live completely broke for this idea. But the idea was a good. By the way, that idea would not fly here in the United States and would not fly in today's market.
Well, be the change you want to be?
That wasn't. That's not what it. No, he was a champ. No, that's what we took from it now. What he was a champion of is get out of our country and let us run it. No, he was saying if you're not Indian, you can't own Indian.
Yeah.
If you're not from India, then you can't make rules on India. Don't tell Indians how to be Indians.
Correct.
He was a nationalist.
Correct.
Well, today we would call that KKK a KKK person.
Because his tactics weren't the same. He wasn't aggressive.
The tactics were different, but the words. In other words, I'm just taking the words.
The principle was the same.
The principle was the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his tactics were very passive.
And I think that's what we really respect, is not necessarily why he did what he did, but more so the fact that the way he did it, he lived what he said he would do. He took the punches, he took the pain, he took the imprisonment. He knew he was a martyr, and he lived up to being a martyr, and he said, okay, martyr me.
I'm not sure I could do that.
The hell no.
I don't know if I'm at a point in my life where I could do that or not.
No, I'd rather do the Malcolm X route or the KKK route.
Yeah, I mean,
one of those sides.
Yeah,
that it's just like, if I have an opinion, I might get a little volatile.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I could just sit back and take the beatings like that.
They rally around your family. I want to put on some Rage Against the Machine and go a little crazy.
He did some hunger strikes too, and I just, dude, I need my food. You give me a couple hours and I'm hungry.
Yeah, man.
I couldn't make it that long.
Yeah. It's not the kind of diet I want to go on.
No. But no, I definitely believe, though, that's kind of where we're at now is in speaking on that.
Right.
I think the other thing I'm noticing as a society at the moment, it doesn't appear as if we put that much value on that. Like, we put more value on how many likes you get, how many followers you have, what kind of car you drive, what kind of money you're making, things of that nature. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of value put on somebody who's spiritually sound, if you will, like has peace.
Well, I think what we're really talking about, though, is that do we allow other people to express themselves freely, and maybe like that, like the fact, or allow them to express themselves. Like, I like to encourage people to express themselves. And I like people that I disagree with to express themselves.
I prefer it.
But what I do not like bullying. There is something inside of me
Right.
that does get frustrated when I think someone is doing something just to be hurtful. But that's a personal thing
I'd agree with that.
because I felt bullied by my brother. I always attack bullies in the world. Well, yeah, that's what created me.
I don't think I met your brother yet.
That's what created me. No, Jimmy's not. I mean, he can't bully me now.
I think every time he's
really?
in town, I'm not around.
No. I mean, he's a cool brother. I've forgiven him a long time ago. But Jimmy helped create that person inside me.
Right.
That was, you have to speak up for yourself. Because look, he was teaching me the right. He was saying you got to speak up for yourself. You got to be strong. You got to be tough. You can't let the world push you around. But his tactics were, I'm going to do all that to you. So that you can learn it.
Sink or swim, baby. Sink or swim.
Right. See, that's how I learned how to swim, actually. My father threw me in the ocean and said, swim. You know what I mean?
Nice.
I was like 4 or 5 years old. Follow the dog is what they said, actually. Follow the dog to shore.
Nice. I like
Yeah,
that.
threw me out of the boat.
I did it all wrong with my kids. I should have just
Titus
thrown them in there.
Titus is a pop.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I agree with you. I don't like the bullying either. But
Say hi to Chaz real quick. He's checking
Chaz
in.
from Cleveland. What's up, man?
Yeah.
Internal love over external love all day. Cleveland boys checking in. Right on.
Right on.
Go Cavs, by the way.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a great
Let's
game.
not get distracted on that.
Yeah, squirrel. No, I definitely believe the thing that I like, and I know that you do it as well. We did it on the couch actually when we had Jessica on there.
Yeah.
And that is just giving respect to somebody who is doing it.
Right.
I think that's the thing that we both do equally is whether we agree or disagree, we give respect to somebody who has found their outlet and does it well. Mm-hmm. Like I don't have to like it to be able to respect what
It's
you're
their
doing.
therapy, man.
Yeah, like there's I'll do it all the time, like on social media, for instance. Mm-hmm. I'll scroll through like Instagram or something.
Right.
And if I see somebody, like matter of fact, I think it was yesterday, I was scrolling through and this person put they had a picture of like a little tiny miniature Buddha statue with a squirrel standing in front of it with his hands on it, and it looked like he was like kind of almost praying to the Buddha statue. It was just like a really cool picture. Right. And I was just like, you know what, that's pretty cool. Like, good post, man. It brought a smile on my face, things of that nature. And for that person, that might have been their expression. It's like, hey, I thought this was funny. I want to put it out there for everybody else.
Right.
I see you have something in your hand. Go for it.
It's your Buddha that I got you a long time ago. You never even pay attention to him. That's you.
Is that?
Did you notice
Is that
it?
a Buddha?
You never know. Well, he's sitting in that little sit. You know what I mean? So I call it a little Buddha, just because he's sitting like that, and he's got.
You see that,
but he's got barbells.
Yes, he does that. Well, he has a
You didn't notice that?
barbell, a 1-ton barbell, by the way.
Well, I mean,
nice. Well, I'll put
that's
him
your
right
guy.
there.
You didn't notice that I had him in the studio for you this whole time
I did not.
since
no.
we opened up.
I did not.
That's you, by the way.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. He sits right by my tacos.
I saw the tacos and I see the monkey up there.
The
it looks
monkey.
like a Curious George.
Yeah.
Instead of bananas, it's tacos.
That's the surf monkey.
But anyways, I just we're getting way off track.
Well, there's a difference between, again, and I think it's important. Here, I'll get you back on track.
There you go.
It's important to understand that me allowing you to express yourself and me respecting your expression is because I'm respecting your therapy.
Yeah.
Your therapy in this world. Your therapy of releasing your frustrations, your angers, your fears, whatever.
Right.
However, we have to learn how to do it properly to make it really effective, because some people are just venting anger and disrespect, and that's not therapy to them. So don't get it twisted that just because you're expressing yourself, it's therapeutic. It's only therapeutic if you allow it to be therapeutic, and it comes from a place of love rather than a place of hate.
Well, yeah, I don't think your expression shouldn't harm somebody else. And your expression shouldn't push somebody else off their path, and their journey where they're going.
That's right.
And so, yes, I'm not advocating. Well,
no, we said that. Yes.
I'm not advocating this idea, right? So many people hide behind, oh, well, I was just expressing my. No, you were being an asshole. Is what
you're
doing.
just being a jerk.
Like, come on. So no, I'm not advocating that at all whatsoever. Mm-hmm. I'm advocating more of the internal expression. Like, I'll use my wife for example, right? My wife has got more creativity in her little pinky finger than I have in my entire body.
Right.
Like, it's an amazing thing to watch, to sit here and watch her kind of do her thing. When she starts painting or drawing or kind of getting in this little creative, world, And I'm the exact opposite. Like, we had to do, I made soap with my kids over the, last weekend or something like that.
That's cool.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It was horrible.
Did you blow up the microwave or something?
No, I'm not the crafty guy. And so I get overwhelmed at times. I get frustrated and overwhelmed. This isn't my thing. I'm not that guy. I need more of the, when it comes to those types of situations, if you will, I need like very clear instructions, and I'll do it this way.
Your expression has been very inward, though.
What do you mean?
If I look at you, the fact that you have tattoos, the fact that you worked out really hard, your expression is all over you. You carry your journal on you.
Yeah.
So your expression has actually been internal.
Yeah.
Rather than a lot of external. It's not until the last several years where you've started to do your expression outward. So I think what you're going to find is a very different transition in your life in the next decade because the way you've changed to do your expression.
Yeah, I'd agree
it was
with
always
that.
in you. Yeah. It's just instead of just being for you, you're now sharing it.
Right.
And that's the difference of also expression, correct? The
Yeah.
one is expressing yourself for yourself, and the other one is sharing for others. And after you find that.
Yeah, and for that I'm grateful. I'm grateful that not just myself, but other individuals share their stuff.
Right.
I mean,
it's also healthier.
Well, think about music, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
How much? Can you imagine how much good music we would lose if people didn't share it with the world?
Oh my God.
Or how many brilliant paintings or something like that they just, if somebody just quit.
Right.
And I guess that's kind of what bothers me. You were speaking about Elon. When we were down there doing our show, there was somebody there and we're not allowed to mention her name or anything. Remember?
Right.
She had these amazing photographs.
Right.
It was like some of the best photographs that I've ever seen. Right. And I used to think I could take good photographs. Like, I could take a photograph until I see somebody who can take a good photograph.
Yeah, big difference,
and then I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
All right, I suck at photographs. I'm good in the point where they're not shaky, but that's it.
Right.
Like, these people can take something where it's all like focused and it's just
the
amazing.
lighting,
Yeah.
the shutter speed.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And some of her photos were like just amazing. And then when we talked to her, we found out it's been years since she's picked up a camera. And I just can't help but imagine what she's denying herself and the world for all these years of not putting it out there.
Right.
And then when we talked to her, you could feel that. You could feel that there was a sense of, I don't want to call it regret, but there was a sense of something that just kind of wasn't sitting right with her.
Right.
And if I remember correctly, didn't she say we motivated her to get back into it because we liked it so much or something?
Right. We almost got her to say her name on air.
Almost. She was very adamant about that.
Right.
I still don't know why. Like, she's in CIA or something. But maybe that's why she's.
No, it's the recovery world. I mean, remember we were doing a show on recovery, and she didn't want to be
Was
out
she in
of
recovery?
that.
I couldn't remember. Okay.
Well, she didn't want to.
Okay.
Some people are still in the closet.
Sure.
Man. You gotta let them be in the closet.
But anyways, so I know for her, I can't imagine not having your expression to kind of get that out.
Right.
How else are you getting it out then?
Well, it doesn't, and then
Well,
it festers.
it might, but it might come out in a bad way.
Yeah. The emotion just emotion it needs to move. Energy needs to move. Negative energy needs to move.
Yeah.
So if you have this energy that's that you're trying to keep stagnant, not allowing to, the only way that we vent and express emotion is through talent, is through some sort of expression like writing, singing, sculpting. Some form of artistic expression. That's how we move that energy. And so if you're not moving that energy, it starts festering and creating problems within your organs because our organs are very sensitive to those negative emotions. Look, man, learn from the Chinese. The Chinese knew true medical issues and true prevention methods to not suffer internally.
Let's all go get acupuncture.
Than before we did. Well,
let's go do it right now.
Yeah, if you're not going to move it by by singing a song, then go get a needle in you. You know what I mean?
Well, acupuncture needle. How about
that?
that?
Yeah. Because I said it wrong. Huh?
There's other people doing other needles.
Oh, the Couch Live is on.
You can tune in Friday, 12 to 1.
Learn how to not put that needle in you.
Exactly.
Unless it's an acupuncture needle.
And if you're watching, no, never mind. So yeah, we're gonna get off top. We're about to go there.
Yeah.
Put
the needle on the record.
Yeah. Right. And what about those people who even say that, though? I mean, to kind of slightly veer that way, what about the ones who say that they need something like weed or whatever to express themselves? I think, is that fake expression? Because I think
no,
it is.
I'm not so sure it's that I would label a fake expression. I think what I would label is it's a quick way to get to a level of expression, but it doesn't teach you how to get to the level of expression. In other words, it just teaches you that expression actually exists. So when people say, "Look, I need that in order to be creative," I say, "No. What's in your way is anxiety and doubt and fear of other people liking it. And when you do the drug that you're talking about, you no longer give a crap about other people and all that stuff. So your barriers are down. And once your barriers are down, look how talented you are. So imagine if you can put the barriers down by being okay with who you are and not having that level of fear and anxiety. If you can naturally get there, then you wouldn't need a substance.
Well, see, in the spiritual, in Buddhism, for instance, we have a slightly different take on that, and that is like, you're supposed to have a mind free of intoxicants,
right?
Because you're not able to truly experience the moment if your mind is obscured by that.
Right.
And so that's why I refer to it as fake, because it's not. It's the substance that's doing that. It's not you. So we're saying kind of the same thing.
Well, I think you have to be in there for the substances to create it, right? It's like it's not like I mean, I did a lot of the same drugs that some of these artists did, and I didn't come out with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think I could go smoke weed tomorrow and all of a sudden paint like the most beautiful picture on the planet.
Correct.
I
And I didn't write Stairway to Heaven, so I mean, no matter how much I smoked, it didn't work for me. You know,
so back in your Woodstock days.
You're right. Back when I was a little girl in Mexico. Back when I was in Vietnam. But
Guadalupe, is that what your name was?
That's right. Hey, don't out that, man. I've changed.
Oh,
I identify as Louis today.
There you go.
So the issue is that expression, the more natural you find your way to express yourself, the more liberating and healthy it is for you.
Yeah, and that's why I think a good spiritual base is where you start that from. Right. I think a good spiritual base kind of gives you that peace to where that stuff doesn't matter as much anymore. All the anxiety, the what if they like it, what if they don't like it. You no longer derive your self-value from that anymore. Right. You have that peace, so that stuff doesn't have as much of importance on it. Right. And then you're able to freely just express and put it out there.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of what I was referring to.
And I think when you talked about social media earlier, and if you talk about technology, really what a lot of technology has allowed us to do is to occupy that time that we would otherwise maybe do some freedom of expression, and do it that way. Now, some people are really good at it; they're still expressing themselves through social media. So I'm not going to blame social media, and I'm not going to blame technology, because there's a lot of artists that use technology to be creative, right?
Right.
But some people are just they're staying invisible. In other words, if all you do is like other people's stuff, or all you do is troll other people's stuff, but you're not putting anything out there, then you're not allowing it to be as therapeutic as it can be for you.
Well, I will say this. Having the fact that I've got an 18-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I got little ones too, but mostly them two are the ones I see it kind of most prevalent, if you will. Okay. And that is, I do believe you hit it on the head a little bit by saying it occupies that time. Because I noticed that the two of them, it's interesting kind of dynamic, right? Because they think that they get their fulfillment, they think they get their entertainment from their electronics. Because if you try to take it from them, or you try to get them off of it, they throw a fit almost. But what I've noticed is on the times where we've gone like camping, for instance, and we've made them put it away, they've been the happiest I've ever seen them. Right. And to the point where they've even said, "Hey, when can we go camping again?" Like, oh, really?
And more interactive.
Yeah. And so, it is a distraction, I think, at times. And I'm not saying that there's not a place for it. By all means, there is. But I think that's where you got to find that balance. And I think that if social media is your creative outlet, you got to be careful to not use that as a crutch. Almost, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Like, you still got to find, what happens if social media was not here? Do you still have the creative outlet? So if you have a creative outlet, and you're using social media to share it with the world, that's awesome.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can either escape with it, or connect with it.
Yeah.
And I think, like you and I, the way we use social media, we connect with it. We connect with other people throughout the world by using it. We're not lacking connectivity because we're using social media, whereas some people are using it just to escape and buy time, and they're bored. Whatever like that. We love to connect with other people, whether they're on a great path or whether they're on a path of suffering. We want to help them.
Yeah. We got some people here. Hey, Nancy, she said hi from, I don't even know how to pronounce that, Saugerties, New York.
Yeah.
I'm not a New Yorker, so I don't even know where that's at, but welcome. We've had all of them, man. New York.
All New York is kind of the same to us.
Yeah, right. And we've had Cleveland on here as well. And we had Michael says greetings from Charleston. So what's up,
two from New York, because Melissa's from New York.
Oh, okay. Is she really? I didn't know that. Why did I not know
Wait a
that?
minute. You did not know Melissa's in New York.
Why didn't I thought it was somewhere in between.
I'm sorry. I always do that to her. I always call her the wrong name.
I totally...
You didn't know she was in New York?
I did not. I don't know why. I thought she was somewhere in between here in New York, actually. I didn't know she
what is in between? Virginia?
Could be Virginia. You got
thought she was from Virginia or Carolina? You thought she was from Carolinas?
I don't know.
She's going to be offended now.
Oh, isn't this funny? Nancy says Saugerties is up by Woodstock,
New
York.
Woodstock. That's awesome. What we're talking about.
That's your Woodstock, man. That's your time.
Woodstock, man.
I wasn't even
my
gleaming
time.
my daddy's
That was
eye.
not my time.
You said you were born right around then, right?
Yeah, I was. 69.
I wasn't even close to being born then, man. So
yeah, well,
I was a wee young pup.
I was swimming. That's when I was still swimming. But I was what I'm saying is that was a time where expression was expression, It didn't come out of hate. It didn't come out of anger.
Right.
It came out of where real expression does come from, which is
Yeah.
fear, anxiety, and pain.
Well,
right? That's why that music is so impactful. That's why when a musician sings about their own pain and stuff like that, that's why it lasts generations.
Yeah, man.
And it doesn't require that repetitive beat to last generations. It's the words. It's the actual the verbiage they used or the way they put their words together or what they were saying that kept it lasting for generations. Whereas when someone's just saying my name is, yeah, that's great, but that doesn't really that speaks to my now, but that doesn't speak to me later on.
Right. Well, I agree. I guess like.
But I do like that song too, by the way.
Sure.
I mean, I like it all because I just
Um,
like beats. Period.
But no, I don't know. I mean, thinking about it, looking at the videos and pictures I've seen of Woodstock times, I gotta say, from the outside looking in, they did, man. They looked like a very kind of just a cool vibe, man. Like I guess it would be the hippies was in the '60s, so it seemed like a very was it peace, love, and what was the other one? Peace, love, and something. I can't remember. It was peace, love, and whatever.
Peace, love, and happiness.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Or sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Which one did you want to say?
That too.
By the way, thank you very much, Marissa. She gave a shout out to the Couch Lie.
All right, right on. But yeah, it did seem like they had a really good sense of self-expression. Like there was a lot of art, I think, back then.
Well, that's the Andy Warhol and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I can't get into it. I don't
never
understand.
got into Andy Warhol.
Well, first of all, I'm not a person that understands art. Okay, so let me throw this out there because to me, art is like a big, like sometimes I feel like all the artist is doing is giving me a big middle finger, and saying I'm so much better than you and so highbrow that I'm just gonna put a chrome ball in the middle of a park, call it art, and get paid thousands of dollars for it. And you're going to have to say, wow, that's really beautiful, because you don't understand it.
No, see, that's a discussion or a debate that happens in my house often.
I don't get it.
Right? And you're going to come with us one of these times
when
we do these like couple paint nights or whatever.
No, I get painting.
Well, hold on. So we went, and my philosophy is it's got to look good. And my wife is always saying art is subjective, so it doesn't really matter. Like there's no such thing.
It doesn't, apparently.
Bull, man. Because I've when you put my picture that I painted up next to hers, there's an obvious difference. One looks way better than the other. And she's trying to make me feel better by saying, no, mine sucked.
Brother, John Lennon did stick figures and they look better than my stick figures.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I do. Mm-hmm. It still looks dorky.
But I believe that there is good and bad art. I'm sorry. I'm one of those guys. I don't understand.
No, it just is. Where's your Zen now? This is Dharma time.
Yeah,
you're not supposed to be saying that.
I would say that
Trinity, it just is.
Like Picasso, for instance, that makes no sense to me whatsoever.
It's hard to be a screw up artistically, though. It's hard to paint like a third grader and make it look cool. And that's what he did.
Picasso?
Yeah, brilliant.
See, it doesn't look cool to me. I don't get it. I look at him like
you try to do it.
I think I could. I think I just throw stuff on the thing and it would look the same.
That's what makes it brilliant. You try to do that and realize, holy shit, this is hard.
I guess. I have to relook at it, man, because it just looks weird to me every time I look at it. I get like a headache when I'm looking at it. Like, I don't understand this.
I agree with Marissa. There's people that draw a dot on the paper and it sells for millions. I think it's a big FU to us. However, if that's the way you express yourself, by all means, by dots, then do it. Because if that's preventing you from bombing somebody or shooting somebody.
Yes. Or kicking your dog.
Or kicking the dog. And
God,
I love
it. Always is.
I love that we actually agree on that, by the way. You know, if that prevents you from kicking the dog,
dot away. And put as many dots on the paper as you can fit. Just don't kick your dog.
And I won't even connect them.
Yeah, exactly. That reminds me of that game. I don't know if you ever played it where you had a bunch of dots and you had to try to...
I loved it, actually. When I was a kid, you know how you always had the dots and you had to do the lines?
Yeah.
And make it into a picture?
So they played that back then, too?
That was when yeah.
I didn't know y'all had paper back then.
Oh, no. Did I say paper?
You had to make your own out of the pulp and everything. Yeah. But no. So, yes, I think that the conclusion we both have come up with...
That's when dots were just period, bro.
Exactly.
That's when the hashtag was the pound sign.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, right?
It was the tic-tac... No, that's when hashtag was tic-tac-toe. That's its great-grandfather when it was tic-tac-toe.
My kid still plays it sometimes, my youngest ones.
Then tic-tac-toe had pound.
Yeah. But I think the conclusion that we're both coming up with anyways, and I think anybody who's watching this should come up with, is self-expression is important. It really, truly is. And maybe for reasons that a lot of us don't even know yet. But the point is you have to have it, because without it, you go nuts, man. Like you do take it out on other people. You have to have some sort of a way of releasing that and speaking to the world.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be verbally. It can be just you're speaking. Because to me, there's photos that I've looked at. There's drawings. There's paintings, and it speaks to me. I can see what that person's trying to say.
Yeah.
Perfect example was back at Elon. One of those one of the artists does that. It was like she was burning something, or she was doing a fire or something. I can't remember what it was. Some sort of chemical reaction.
Oh, that was crazy.
Yeah, and you looked at one of them and you said, "Oh, it makes me feel such and such," and it was the exact emotion that she wanted to get across.
Right.
And that's what I'm talking about.
She said, "I want you to feel happy."
Yes. And so that is the expression. She was speaking. Right. And I think that for her it was important, because if she wasn't getting it out there, she would be suffering in silence. And
right.
that is her voice, by
right.
putting it out there.
Right.
And by putting it out there, that's that release, that's that expression. And then to have somebody such as yourself come along and get that exact vibe that she wanted to put out,
right.
I think that's what keeps her sane and keeps her on the path that she wants to be on.
I agree.
And I think that's why it's important. I think that we have to find that expression. We have to find that whatever it is that you can speak, that you can be heard. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's flapping our gums. That's how we feel best heard, is talking.
Right.
For some people, it's painting. Like my wife, she's an amazing artist and crafty individual, and that's how she speaks.
Right.
If you've ever seen me post any of the stuff that she's done, like they do this, like to me, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. It's a diaper cake. Apparently, it's big in the circle of moms, and I don't know.
Diaper cake?
A diaper cake, yeah.
I wouldn't put those two things together ever.
Me either. But they look amazing when she gets done with them, and people want to pay her money to do these things.
The chocolate?
No, it's not. It's an actual diaper that you roll up and I don't know, whatever. It's weird. My point is, that's how she speaks, right? And so when she puts it on there, she feels so complete when she's able to be done with one, and the admiration she gets when she drops it off and everybody loves it.
Yeah.
And then they all kind of see it, and that's how she speaks. That's how she feels heard and understood.
Mm-hmm. So how do you make it sustainable?
What do you mean?
Because there are a lot of people that do their artistic expression. Because, like you said, you hinted to earlier. I say that if there's pressure, we all experience pressure, but everything man-made that we ever created that actually holds pressure has a release valve.
Correct.
So you can release it out. The only way to human to release it out is through freedom of expression, some sort of artistic expression.
Yes.
But for some people, it appears that they've been doing that and it's not getting to the next level. Like the healing still hasn't happened. In other words, they're not killing themselves and killing others.
Right.
But they seem to still be suffering. So is there another, I guess what I'm asking, in your opinion or in the Buddhist opinion, is there another level after expression, or is there something to be done with that expression that is still keeping them from the healing? What do you think that other level is?
Well, I think that, that kind of goes to what I was saying earlier in the fact of, I think self-expression is a piece to a bigger puzzle. I don't think self-expression is the end-all be-all, and that's all you need. Mm-hmm. I think it's a piece to a puzzle, and you got to have that balance.
Okay.
So you've got to balance that self-expression with a good spiritual base. So you got to have a good mindset, and you have to find that peace. Mm-hmm. And I think somewhere within that peace is where you find that creative outlet. I think that peace is what allows you to have that voice.
Can you give an example of spiritual base? When you say spiritual base, what do you say?
I just mean peace, like whatever your spirituality might be. We did a show on it not too long ago about spirituality and how to apply it and stuff, and happiness and stuff. And so I think that, like for me, I'm better able to now express myself because I'm at a good place.
Right.
And when I'm at a good place, I can put that stuff out there without having to worry constantly about what somebody's thinking, if they like it, if they don't like it, how am I going to respond to this? Right. That's not how I define my value anymore. So my peace doesn't come from somebody liking or disliking what I did. My peace comes from this. This is strictly expression to get it out of me.
Can my spiritual place be that this is my purpose? My purpose is to translate my my pain, my fear, my frustrations,
Why not?
into this artistic form so that others too can feel or can relate and therefore feel like there is connection out there, that other people can connect with me. Maybe they can't connect with me verbally. Maybe they can't connect with me by being honest about what happened to them. But, as the first layer. Right. But by me doing this piece of art, right, or this song or this writing or whatever it is, they know. It's like, oh, I tipped my hand. It's like a secret language. Right. Like, oh, you have the same pain as me.
Yeah.
So we do relate. And now we can communicate. Now we can talk. Now I know you exist.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's like,
absolutely.
It reminds me of here, don't let me squirrel up.
Squirrel. We only got a couple minutes anyway.
Okay, good. All right. So it reminds me of like when I first started smoking pot as a kid, right? As a little kid. All of a sudden, I heard and saw pot everywhere. It's like the Tootsie Roll thing. Like I saw Tootsie Roll everywhere. So like all of a sudden I related to so many more jokes and I understood so much more of what the music was telling me.
Right.
And it was like all of a sudden I was in a club. And so I accidentally thought that was my expression rather than finding it another way, a healthier way, and then finding that connectivity with others.
Right.
I found my connectivity in a very wrong way, and it took me down another path, unfortunately, for a while.
Sure.
Now, luckily, I've been able to turn that around and it be a healthy thing and make it a good thing. But to a lot of people, it never turns around and comes back to the good thing. So,
and that's where I think the healing has to
the
come
earlier
before.
we find that level of expression, right?
Yeah, and that's why, for instance, for my kids, that's why I try to help them early on.
Right.
And that's also why, we both, in the addiction field, we try to help people, recovery, not just sobriety kind of a thing, work on that healing. Because I don't believe expression alone can heal. I think it's a tool, but I don't think it alone can heal.
Right.
And I think that can actually can backfire on you. If you put all your self-worth into your expression and then it's not taken the way you think it should be taken, and that's how you define your self-worth, I think it can destroy you. And so that's why I think you have to use it as a bigger piece of the puzzle.
Then why is Hollywood like in so much pain then? Because there's a lot of crying and just a lot of...
Well, there's a lot of
They
pain
don't-
that they haven't dealt with, man.
They need to go to therapy for real.
Nancy from the Almost Woodstock says, I express myself with giving a smile to people.
Yeah, we all need to do
And I
that a
think
little
that's
bit more
awesome.
often.
Yeah, I think people underestimate the value of a good smile, man. Like
There's way too much
walk
anger
around
and frustration out there.
grumpy so much.
Yeah.
People are like proud of what do they call it, the resting bitch face.
Oh,
They're like
yeah.
proud of that. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not something to be proud of, man. Just
Yeah.
be kind.
It's hard to smile too. Have you ever tried to walk around like you're smiling?
Well, this is my smile, so.
I was gonna say if you walk around smiling, I would think that what the hell is he about to do to us?
Exactly. Yeah. But anyway, so we didn't do it at the top of the show. I got to do it now. We got to do our 3 tips, and we got to say thank you to the sponsors. So real quick, sponsors. We have Retreat Premier Addiction Centers. Fantastic. They have one in West Palm. They have one in Pennsylvania. A lot of times they're in network. Fantastic place. Make sure you check them out if you're struggling with any of the addiction issues. And if they don't do it for you, then you can also call Journey Pure, which is another one. Matter of fact, I think in June I will still be up there. I gotta get a hold of Graham and all them. But
Graham was just calling me during the show.
Oh, maybe he was calling you to talk about June.
Maybe he was calling me
Probably
to
not,
talk
but-
about his pain.
Oh, we need to get him to express.
Maybe he
himself.
wanted to express himself.
Express yourself.
We should have answered him live on the air, but if it was a couch, we would have.
Oh, dude, you should have. I would have totally
If it was
done
a couch,
that.
we would have.
I would have totally done that.
I didn't know you wanted to do that on your show.
I would have actually.
Remember, I'm only a producer on this show.
I would have totally done that. But anyways, Journey Pure, and then we have Orange County here in Florida. Orange County Drug Free Coalition is fantastic for us. Carol Burkett, she was actually being interviewed on Recovery Radio, which will come up right after this show. And then, of course, the Now Matters More Foundation, which I am the president. He is the founder. You can check us out at nowmattersmore.org, and feel free to check us out and support us any way you can, both financially or supporting through sharing our posts, things of that nature. So anyways, let's get to the 3 tips. 3 tips, I wrote them down earlier so I don't forget.
Of in silence we suffer.
Yes. So first and foremost, you have to be in a position where you allow other people to find their self-expression, whatever that may be. You can't make them feel guilty about their self-expression. You can't judge them. You can't try to take that from them because you don't know how much that means to them. So you have to allow people the freedom to find their expression. The second tip is find your expression. Figure out what your expression is. Figure out what it is that brings you joy, that releases that pressure from you, and kind of completes your puzzle of happiness, if you will. And then the third one is share it. Whatever your expression is, don't keep it to yourself. Share it for the world, man. Whether it be through social media, whether it be through creating music, creating art, doing something what we're doing here, and speaking to the public, whatever it may be, share it. You'll notice that it brings you a different kind of joy that you might not have been expecting. So those would be the 3 tips. Hope you enjoyed it. And remember, we are both on iTunes through the Couch Live or through the Dharma Time. On iTunes, Google Play, and we should be on Spotify soon too, I think. We're moving up in the world, man.
Yeah,
we're making a name for
or
ourselves.
just go to YouTube and subscribe.
Or
to
you
both
go to
channels.
YouTube and subscribe, and if you want to see our pretty faces, then you can do that as well, both on the Couch Live and Dharma Time. So anyways.
Is that a compliment?
I think so.
The Art of the Compliment, available now on YouTube.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. That's why you're a professional, man. That's why. I'm telling you. You're going to go places. I believe in you.
I appreciate that.
So anyways, so now that you know better, do better. Till next time. See ya.
think he plans it all out? Or just makes it up as he goes along?
Human knowledge belongs to the world.